Hey, it's Mike Rivers with the Rivers Group of Compass in Boston, Massachusetts. And this video is for people who are just starting off in their home search. They're wondering what is the best way to find the right real estate agent to represent me throughout this process. It seems like every third person I pass on the street is a real estate agent. There are so many of them out there. How do I choose the right one? And even if you aren't living in or moving to Massachusetts, this video could give you some great insight about what to look for in a real estate agent and some idea of what the home search process can look like. Just as a quick side note to those who are brand new to purchasing a home, or maybe you just haven't dealt with the process in a while, there are generally two real estate agents involved in any real estate transaction. One who represents the seller of a property and the other who represents the buyer. And this video is really geared toward people who are looking for the right buyer's agent to not only help them to search for a home, but also to help them win a home and create a smooth transaction process once they get an offer accepted. Now, a home purchase is typically the largest financial investment that people make, so it's extremely important to find an agent that knows what they're doing, but is also going to be a good fit for you personally. And buyer's agents get paid out of the seller's proceeds, so as a buyer, you don't even pay the commission for the real estate agent that you work with through this process. But that said, you still want to work with a buyer's agent who's going to be talented, professional, and experienced, because there is a lot more to being a buyer's agent than just setting up property tours and writing up an offer when the time comes. Moving is stressful enough on its own, so don't be afraid to interview several agents until you find one that's not only going to be effective, but make the experience as stress-free and enjoyable as possible for you. There's a good chance that you already know several real estate agents because it is frighteningly easy to get through the real estate exam and pass the simple licensing test at the end. So there are a million of these people wandering around, and chances are you're going to get referred a real estate agent because it's a friend of the family or your hairdresser's brother-in-law helped them with a rental one time. So try not to fall into this trap of using someone just because there's a connection there somewhere. You want to at least properly vet them first and make sure they're the type of real estate agent who's going to be able to help you with your style of a transaction, with the type of home that you're looking for, with the neighborhoods that you're looking in. And maybe they did a great job for that family member, but you want to make sure it's going to be a good fit for you. So don't just use someone for the sole purpose of they know someone that you know. So make sure you're properly vetting them so they can get you to your goals. So here are some important things to think about, some important considerations when you're trying to find the right real estate agent to work with you through this process. The first thing to consider are your goals. You don't necessarily need to have all the exact specifics about your search criteria down because that stuff's going to shift throughout the search process. But you want to have the basics down. Maybe you need to close quickly. Maybe this is a time-sensitive purchase and you need someone who's going to be more available than another realtor might. Maybe you're looking in Massachusetts and Rhode Island. You're not sure exactly which state you're going to be living in, so you need a realtor who's licensed in both of those places. Maybe you're looking in a broad region. You need someone who knows kind of a vast area and not necessarily a specific neighborhood. Or maybe you do need someone who knows a specific neighborhood and you narrow your search down already to one neighborhood in one town and you want a true professional that knows those streets like the back of their hand. Also, you want to know what kinds of homes you're going to be searching for. Are you looking for condos? Are you looking for new construction? Are you looking for a multifamily building? You want to make sure you're finding an agent that has experience with the types of properties that you're looking for. So you kind of want to have those general ideas in mind as you go into your search for a real estate agent. And then you can kind of narrow down your search criteria based on those things, but you want to have this information at hand. And that way, when you give it to the real estate agent, they'll know whether or not they're going to be a good fit for you, or maybe they have to recommend you to somebody else. So hopefully they're honest with you about what they can handle. And if they can't handle it, they can either let you know they know someone who can, or just let you know that they're not going to be the right fit for you. The next consideration when thinking about a real estate agent is their availability. Will these people be there for you when you need them to be? And I want to say, definitely make sure you're using a full-time real estate agent and not a part-timer. There are a lot of people out there that do this on the weekends, on nights, after their full-time job or after another part-time job. And there's nothing wrong with a side hustle. I'm a former side hustler myself, but being a real estate agent is not a side hustle. And the fact that there are so many agents out there treating it like one is one of the reasons that this profession is among the most hated in the world. This purchase process should be as stress-free as possible. So it's important that these people are there for you when you need them to be. You don't want to be searching for a home for your family for a year. Maybe you've made a couple of offers, maybe you've missed out on a couple of properties, and then you find the perfect home, and when you want to make an offer, your real estate agent is off working their other part-time job. That's not a situation you want to get in. So I would avoid using people that are doing this as a side gig or part-time at all costs. Having the peace of mind that your agent is going to be there for you when you need them is going to make this process a lot less stressful. You may even be an easygoing, relaxed, carefree person, but sometimes the market just doesn't care. The market doesn't have the same patience necessarily. So you want to work with an agent who's going to not stress you out, but also be very responsive and have a sense of urgency when it matters and they need to get things done for you. You may want to consider using a team or at least an individual agent that has a support system in place to make sure their clients are taken care of if they happen to be on vacation, if they get sick, if they have a family emergency. That way you have some peace of mind. You know that you're not relying on this one individual agent. They have a backup plan. They have a contingency plan. You're going to be taken care of whatever their situation is. Somewhat related to availability is communication, and communication is a huge factor, and it's actually how we get a lot of clients because those clients have had a poor communication experience with their last agent, and it's usually the number one resource for us getting new clients is a lack of communication with their last agent. Get a feel for how they interact with you. Are they just trying to get you to sign a contract? Are they patiently asking you questions, listening to the answers, writing things down? You want to make sure they're genuinely curious about what your situation is, what your goals are, what your expectations are. So you want to make sure they're listening more than talking. Make sure they're asking you thoughtful questions about why you made certain decisions in your search. From a buyer's agent standpoint, the reasons you have for making certain decisions, making certain choices, gives us a ton of insight and can actually open our eyes to seeing potential solutions or opening some doors that you may not have known were there. As I keep mentioning, the market can cause enough stress without your real estate agent adding to it. So you want to make sure you're using someone that communicates well and is going to allow you to move forward confidently and create less stress throughout this entire process. The next thing you want to consider is an agent's transaction experience. And here's one time where the years of experience can be a little bit misleading depending on the agent. It may be a great thing, it may be great to use someone with 10, 20, 30 years of experience, but you want to make sure they're transacting because 20 years of experience could mean they do 1 or 2 transactions a year and then they decided to keep their license and just to make a couple of extra bucks every year. And that's their transaction experience. You want to focus on their volume, how many deals they do every year, what is their ongoing experience. It gives them more practice, it opens their eyes to creating different solutions in different transactions. So you want to focus on their actual transaction volume and not necessarily their years in the business. Using an agent that has a lot of transactional experience doesn't just mean that you're using someone that is well practiced, does a lot of transaction, knows how to handle curveballs and can come up with solutions for different problems that arise during the transaction process. What it also means is they could have developed relationships with other agents in the market, and that could benefit you at the end of the day if this seller is using an agent that they've worked with before, and this listing agent knows that, okay, this buyer agent that's coming to the table representing this buyer knows what they're doing, they get transactions done, they get things to the closing table, and they're easy to work with. That can be a huge difference maker, especially in a competitive market where you need every possible advantage. So there's something to be said about transaction volume and how much an agent does in a specific area. Check out the agent's online reviews and testimonials. In a world where you're 3 times more likely to leave a negative review than a positive review, if they have a lot of positive reviews, there's a good chance they know what they're doing, they're a qualified agent, and people are happy to refer them to you. You also want an agent with the experience in the types of properties that you're looking for. There are a lot of different types of properties out there. You want an agent that knows condos, multifamilies, single families, maybe you're buying land. So you want to make sure that they have experience transacting on those types of properties because they all come with certain nuances, certain sets of possible problems that can arise, and you want to make sure that they can find solutions for them easily. And if they've had experience dealing with those transaction types before, there's a good chance they can come up with solutions quickly. Some condo homeowners associations or HOAs have different restrictions about how an owner can use the property, and an inexperienced agent might miss some of those things. So if you're a dog owner and you're putting an offer in on a condo, you could get to the closing table and actually own this property outright, and the next thing you know, your dog isn't even allowed in. So you want to make sure you're using an agent that has experience transacting on the types of properties that you're looking to purchase. The next important factor is market knowledge. How is this agent staying in tune with the market? They should have some idea of what's going to affect your search process, what could potentially affect your offers down the road, and ask them how they're going to share this information with you through the process. Next, what is their local knowledge? You're not likely to find an agent out there who knows every street in the entire state like the back of their hand. But based on what you're looking for, you could potentially find an agent that knows an entire town very well, or maybe they have a more general knowledge of a few towns or an entire region. So depending on what you're looking for, you want to make sure you're working with an agent who's going to match that. It's important that these agents are honest with you about what neighborhoods that they are comfortable covering. If they work specifically in a couple of different areas and you want someone who's a professional in an area outside that, they just need to say, okay, it's not going to be a great fit. Maybe they know someone that's going to be a better fit for you, or maybe they should just say, okay, it's not for me. I'll let you find a better agent that's going to be a good fit for those neighborhoods. Next, you want to know what the search process looks like. Do they have tools that's going to make it easier for you to navigate properties on the market, give them feedback so you guys can stay on the same page throughout the search process? Do they have access to properties that not everyone else has through their brokerage or their personal networks, or maybe sellers that they've been talking to that haven't been ready to go on the market yet? A good way to identify if an agent has access to properties that not everyone else has is to look at their off-market transactions from the last year. So see if they can provide you those numbers, and that gives you a good idea of what they're finding their buyers behind the scenes and helping them out get their hands on properties that aren't available to everyone and creating a little bit less competition for their buyers. Can they easily give you local insights about what's been selling in the market and share that data with you so you have a better feel for the local market and what a good offer might be? Will they make it easy for you to tour properties and then note your feedback from each tour so they can use that to kind of guide the search experience from then on? Next, you want to take a look at what these agents are doing to gain a little bit more property insight as your search progresses. This is something that's a little bit harder to track, or maybe harder for them to show how they do this, but it's important to open the lines of communication with the listing agents, gain a little bit more insight about the property, what the seller's preferred terms are. Sometimes these things can impact an offer more so than even a purchase price. If the seller is under the gun, they need to get a property sold quickly, and the buyer is actually flexible enough to do that. These are things that can all impact an offer strategy. So you want to make sure that the agent is someone who's going to reach out to the listing agent, talk to them, ask them what the seller needs, what they're looking for, what's the best way to strengthen the offer for the buyer. The next thing you want to consider is how this agent writes up an offer. And you would assume that this is done the same way from agent to agent, but it's something that varies a lot between different real estate agents out there. So you want to make sure this agent that you're working with is going to present an offer that is a beautiful offer package, has a cover page that is going to highlight the offer details, like what the purchase price is, what the closing date is, even some details about the lending and the attorneys that you're going to use. It kind of gives the impression that you are working with someone that knows what they're doing, they're detail oriented, they want to create a smooth and easy process for the seller and the listing agent. So having all these details in this kind of beautiful offer package that, you know, contains all the standard documents that you're going to need for an offer anyway, but it's presented in a way that makes it easy to read, easy to understand, and illustrates a little bit more about who the agent is that you're working with and who you are as a buyer. It kind of gives a sense of comfort to the seller. They know, who's going to end up with their home, and it gives the listing agent comfort in knowing that they're working with a true professional who has done this before. They're not just slapping these standard contracts together and throwing them into an email as, 4 or 5 different attachments and then making them kind of filter through the details and pull out the key data and the key information. So it's important that they are presenting these offers professionally. See if you can ask them, if they can pull an offer up that they've recently submitted for one of their other clients, so you can kind of see how they look, how they're presented, and make sure they're done in a professional way. The next thing you might want to ask an agent about is their support system that they have in place to get this transaction to the closing table once the offer is accepted. So have they given you a reliable lender or a list of lenders that they like to use and have done a great job for their past buyers in getting financing situated and getting to the closing table and not having any issues arise along the way? Do they have great attorneys that they can use that are responsive and can solve any issues that come up during the transaction process? Having these supporting people in place is a huge factor in getting this transaction closed on time and without any speed bumps. So make sure that they have some people in place that you can use throughout the transaction to support you and get this thing closed. The next thing to consider is how they're going to guide you through the transaction process once you get your offer accepted. So are they going to get this offer accepted, have you make your deposits, and then vanish into thin air? Or do they have a system for creating expectations for you along the way? Here's what you have to do this week, here's what you have to do the following week. Having someone that's going to be communicating this calendar and act as a guide to you through the process is going to be a huge stress reliever. You're already having a move to deal with. You don't want to be kind of guessing what's going on as this transaction progresses. So it's important they have a system in place for communicating to you what to expect next. So the next consideration, and one of the biggest considerations, is personality. And I've already touched on this briefly, but it's definitely worth revisiting. And this could be a potentially very long process. So you want to make sure you're working with someone with the right temperament, the right personality, that's going to mesh with you and create just an easy, comfortable process and experience through the entire transaction. You're going to be working with them through the home search. You're going to be working with them through the transaction. Depending on the market, this could potentially take a year or two. So you definitely want to be working with someone who's got the right mindset, mentality, personality, temperament that's going to match with you, your family, whoever you're looking for a home with. You want to be sure they're going to be a good fit. For some reason, there are a lot of these wolf on Wall Street wannabe types out there. A lot of people just chasing paychecks. They think that being a real estate agent is an easy way to make money. They're not really in it for the personal relationship. So you kind of want to be wary of that as you start meeting these real estate agents out there. I would definitely recommend setting up a Zoom call or a phone call just to kind of feel them out first, ask them some questions about their transaction history, their experience, and share with them some of the things that you're looking for. And just make it clear to them that you're interviewing several agents. You're trying to feel out a few people that are potential options for you when you're looking for your home. As you get more serious about narrowing down which agent to use, be sure to meet these people in person, and they should be insisting on sitting down for an in-person buyer's consultation anyway, getting to know you, what your goals are, what your expectations are, and exactly what you're looking for. So obviously meeting people face-to-face gives you a better impression of who they are. You can get a feel for their body language and their temperament. So you definitely want to make sure you do that as you narrow down your search. When you do meet these people in person, you want to make sure they're listening, they're not dismissive of anything, they're actually hearing you out and figuring out whether or not they'll be able to help you. Try to steer clear of anyone who comes off as overly salesy, dismissive, dishonest, disingenuous. Obviously, an in-person meeting is going to give you a better feel for, how honest they are, if they're looking you in the eye. So try to pick up on things like that and just make sure you're going to be working with someone who's not dishonest, because in this industry, word gets out about those people very fast. So there's a good chance that if they come off like that to you, they've come off that way to other agents, and other agents have already understood that these people are not great to work with and that they can be a little bit sneaky behind the scenes. So it happens all the time. The world of real estate agents that are transacting is a lot smaller than people think. So word gets out quickly about agents that are dishonest. So make sure you're working with someone who seems genuine, caring, kind, and wants to develop a personal relationship, because chances are other real estate agents want to work with those people as well. Okay, so now I know what I'm looking for in an agent. How do I actually find these agents online? And there are a number of ways to go about this. One of the ways I recommend is to try to find a brokerage that has a brick and mortar office in the area that you're looking in. And you'll be able to find agents that work within that brokerage that all have individual agent pages on the internet. And you can pull up, their reviews, their transaction list, the price points they're typically working with, even little biography and a profile that tells you a little bit more about them. From there, you can even try to find them on social media and see if you can kind of get a feel for who they are before you go and start making phone calls. And the next step I would recommend is to make a phone call and have a conversation and see if they're going to be able to be the right fit for you, and just get a feel for how they do business. I would definitely not recommend going on a site like Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com and just finding a listing that looks like it suits what you're looking for, and then clicking on the tour button and it'll populate, a local agent in the area that's paying for that ad space so that they populate on the website. You want to kind of avoid sites like that because you don't know where you're going to get necessarily. So those are a few things to consider when you're looking for the right buyer's agent. And as a side note, one of the things that I'm going to see a lot of questions about, or I have seen a lot of questions about, is do I need to get a pre-approval before I find a real estate agent? Which comes first, the pre-approval or the agent? And as much as a lot of real estate agents really like to see a pre-approval before they start working with a buyer, it's really just before they start touring properties with the buyer. They don't want to, like a good real estate agent is not going to want to spin their wheels, spin the buyer's wheels if they're touring all these properties over the course of sometimes a year and this person hasn't been pre-approved yet. A great real estate agent is going to know that these people need to kind of pre-qualify with a pre-approval letter from a lender before they start setting up on tours. But what you can do is reach out to the agent first, and most of the time they're going to be able to recommend a really great lender that has very competitive rates and a track record of being responsive and getting financing and getting things to the closing table. Because if you come in with your own lender, even if you're coming in from, let's say, across the country, an agent in Massachusetts isn't going to necessarily know that this is a great lender to work with, and the listing agents that you could be submitting these offers to may have never heard of these people, and it might be a red flag to them. And you want to be working with a local lender that's going to have a good track record of getting financing established and getting things to the closing table. So that's why I would suggest reaching out to a real estate agent first and seeing if they can provide you with a list of options for local lenders. And with all that said, I hope this video gives you a great idea of what to look for in a buyer's agent to help you with your search, also to help you win a home and to create a smooth transaction process for you. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to our team, or if you need a resource in Massachusetts or even outside the state, also feel free to reach out, and hopefully we can be a resource for you. Thank you for watching.